Hey, what's going on, everybody? We've got a great episode lined up for you guys today. Special guest Hall of Famer Joe Thomas joins the show. Me and Justin sit down and talk with him, get his preseason reactions, everything he saw, all the takeaways, and his projections for the season. But we recorded that episode yesterday before the news came out about Kenny Pickett. So obviously there are some conversations with Joe Thomas yesterday when we talk about quarterbacks that involve Kenny Pickett. So I just want to mention now, give you guys this little interjection before the episode and say, yes, the Browns traded Kenny Pickett last night to the Las Vegas Raiders. Backup quarterback out there in Vegas, Aiden O'Connell, suffered a wrist injury. I don't know all the specifics of it. I know he's expected to miss a significant amount of time this season, so they are without a direct backup to Geno Smith. And I got to say, the Browns traded a 5th-round pick for a healthy Kenny Pickett back in March. And we just got a 5th-round pick back for an injured Kenny Pickett. That's the kind of stuff that gets Andrew Berry the laser eyes meme. Because to recoup your investment that you spent to get the guy, to get that back after he has been injured for the last month plus, hasn't taken any snaps in the preseason, I mean, that's pretty incredible. And no, the DTR, being included in that 5th-round pick to go get Kenny Pickett back in March doesn't really matter because DTR was going to be cut anyway. So the Browns get back exactly what they put into Kenny Pickett. So I think that's awesome. Great move for the Browns, getting some draft capital back for Kenny Pickett. Now they move into the season. Joe Flacco's the starter. Dylan Gabriel's the backup, and Shedeur Sanders will be the QB3. Likely inactive would be my guess most weeks, and he'll be designated as the emergency quarterback for the season. That is how I project things to go, at least until there is a transition from Joe Flacco to Dylan Gabriel, which I do anticipate to happen at some point. We'll see how things go. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because we're excited to kick this season off now with Joe Flacco, this offense, this defense, and we talk about it all with Joe Thomas coming up next.
Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode for the Dogs Podcast presented by Manly Bands. Josh All, Justin Charles, special guest Joe Thomas, Hall of Fame left tackle for the Browns, joining us again. We talked about it the other day on the show, me and Blake. I think we're going to start calling him good friend of the show.
Good friend of the show.
Repeat guest on the Dogs Podcast. So we're very honored to have Joe Thomas. I've obviously had the conversation with him. We're just recording the intro now. It's a ton of fun. Yeah. It's a great conversation, great recap of the preseason. Obviously, he did the broadcast for all the games. Mm-hmm. We get some insight about some of the things he saw, different players. Obviously, we talk quarterbacks and some other guys too. And then he gives a little preview for the regular season.
Yeah.
Pretty interested to hear what he has to say. Absolutely. So before we dive into that conversation, remind you guys, if you're watching the video on YouTube, like it, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell, continue to help us grow. We appreciate everybody who's following, engaging, making this show possible. We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And we really wouldn't be able to do it without the Dog Pack. So head over to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page, sync up with the private Discord. That's where you want to be on Sundays for Browns games. There's no better place. If you're just sitting at home by yourself or nobody else in the house is really watching the game or really cares about the game, that Discord cares.
Just you and it feels like a few hundred of your closest friends all upset about the same thing.
Yeah. Upset, you get to vent, you get to cry, you get to celebrate
sometimes. Yeah. Yes.
Hopefully a little more celebrating this year. Not a whole lot last year.
No, there was not.
We had the Ravens game. We had the Steelers game. Those were fun games. But you guys want to get in there, so jointhedogs.com to become an official Dog Pack member. Well, like we said in the intro, we've got Hall of Fame left tackle Joe Thomas back on the show. Joe, thanks for coming back on and joining us here today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. I kind of want to kick things off talking about how it's just awesome listening to you do the broadcast for these preseason games. I mean, we were talking about before the show. Yeah. It's so much better than listening to like the national guys because you know the team, you care, you're invested in Cleveland and the Browns, and like your passion for the team just comes through the broadcast. And what's it like doing the preseason games for the Browns?
Oh, I can't tell you guys how much fun I have when I'm up there and I get an opportunity to just talk to Browns fans. I love doing games, national games. They're so much fun. It's a great honor to be able to represent the NFL and call games and give people a little window from an offensive lineman's perspective into how we see the game. But to be able to do it for your team with your boy Chris Rose, who's also a Cleveland Browns lifer, it's so much fun. Like, I think talking to a lot of guys throughout the NFL that do preseason games, it can be a little bit of a struggle. It's tough. There's a bunch of guys you don't know. You're talking about meaningless games for the most part. But for me, it's just so much joy being up there, giving my perspective, having an audience of Browns fans, being able to just talk to Browns fans. Like when you do a national game, you got to obviously talk about both teams, but everything is through a lens of a Browns fan. And Chris Rose is so much fun to work with. I just am sad at the end of the games. I'm like, I don't get to do this again with you, Rosie, until next year. So it is really fun. So that honestly, it really means a lot to hear fans say that they enjoy listening to me on the call, because I really love doing it. And I hope I can do it for a long time.
We hope so too, man. It is so much fun. So we want to get your thoughts on the preseason. I mean, you were there calling the games, obviously, like we just said. So you got the firsthand experience with each of these games and all the different players that we've talked about for the last month or more, talking about training camp, preseason stuff. But I want to kick it off with Joe Flacco, because I feel like we've come full circle with you. The first time we had you on the show was before training camp, and we were talking quarterback competition. And, you put the word out there for Joe Flacco being the guy. He's the veteran, the guy the veterans are going to want, that make them, feel confident in their abilities on the field, all that kind of stuff. So how do you feel knowing Joe Flacco is going to be the starter to kick off the season?
I'm really excited. I'm happy about it. I think that there was some time during the offseason in the spring when they brought in Kenny Pickett that there was a real competition. And I think a lot of people actually thought Kenny Pickett was going to win the job and had a chance to revive his career and maybe be the long-term starter. Obviously, the injury in training camp derailed that prospect, and it became Joe Flacco's show the whole time. And it was a formality when they did name him as the starter. But I think that we saw throughout the joint practices, throughout training camp, and then in the limited action that he had in the preseason against the Rams, that this guy's ready to play. He is not playing like a 40-year-old. He was never a nimble guy. It's not like he's going to outrun anybody, but he's still got that arm. He's still got that sharp mind. And having a chance to coach with the team for a couple of weeks this training camp and be around the guys and, go out to dinner with Flacco and Pickett and the O-line, just getting to see how well those guys get along, how much those linemen believe in Flacco, how excited they are. David Njoku is a great friend of Flacco, and he loves hanging out with the O-line, and me and him were boys back when we played. So hearing his perspective and how excited he is to have Flacco slinging the pill, I think that the Browns are really, really set up to surprise some people during this season, because I know that nobody on the outside is giving the Browns a chance. And I'm not declaring they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they're going to be a lot better than people think. And having Joe Flacco back there, I think it gives them the calm and the stability that they need at the quarterback position to execute Kevin Stefanski's offense.
I came into this year very, very nervous. Probably the lowest I've been as a Browns fan in a long, long time, where I was there was some doubts in my mind. Like you've just talked about with Flacco, I think it kind of brings back the feelings of 2023 again. Like what it could be. How sustainable do you think it is as Joe Flacco being the starting quarterback, and then maybe potentially for the entire season?
So as an 40-year-old man myself, I know how easily it is to get injured. Like I get hurt doing very simple things in the weight room, like stretching, and it's not easy, right? But Joe Flacco's a very durable quarterback. He's a guy that even at 40, he's pretty much the same guy he was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. He's got the same arm. He's got the same mind. He may have lost a little bit of speed, but that was never a big part of his game. But when you look at what Kevin Stefanski wants to do with this version of his offense this season, they want to run the ball. They want to go back to ground and pound. They want to use those big physical guards they have to pull and to open up lanes on the outside. They want to take some shots and play action down the field. They need a quarterback that can throw to the middle of the field deep, to the sidelines accurately. And that's who Joe Flacco is. And so I think when you pair that with the great top 5 defense that we expect to have, I think it's a formula that can have sustained success. And I think it's going to be hard to keep up with some of the upper tier top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL that are going to go out and put up 40 points. But I think the defense will help with some of that. But I still think it's going to be a fun game and a fun team to watch again, which is something that we did not say at all last year.
No, I mean, we were talking and said, like, it feels like just seeing Joe Flacco out there on Saturday with the first team offense, it felt like this is the direct sequel to 2023. Kind of like last year in 2024 was that one-off film that, kind of gets removed from Brown's canon after the fact because they're like, that one didn't really fit with the storyline and everything. So now we're back to what we need to be. And, kind of going to what you said about Kenny Pickett. Kevin Stefanski came out the other day, said that Kenny might possibly be healthy for week 1. And there's, Andrew Berry keeps saying probably going to keep all 4 quarterbacks on the roster, that kind of stuff. So with Kevin not having yet named a backup quarterback behind Joe Flacco, do you think it'll be Kenny Pickett if he's healthy, that he'll be the QB2? And 2, do you think it's a wise move to keep him as the backup to protect the rookies? And I put in here, like in 2023, we traded Josh Dobbs to the Cardinals, and we made DTR the backup quarterback right away as a rookie. And then when injuries happened and he had to come in and start games and play, he was not ready, and it just didn't go well. So do you think it's kind of like a hedge against that kind of situation?
Yeah, as excited as we are about the 2 rookie quarterbacks, I think reflecting back on history is always a great way to kind of temper expectations or give us perspective on the situation we're in right now. And thinking about how great DTR looked when he was in the preseason. I mean, there was conversation about this guy could be the future. He could be, the franchise quarterback, and we got him late in the draft as a steal. And the preseason is just different than the regular season. Teams are not putting out their starters. They're not putting a real game plan out. They're not trying to attack your weaknesses. They're not trying to make you think and try to confuse you. They're just doing their basic stuff. And so it's much easier for a rookie quarterback to look good because it's much more like college for them. They have easy progressions, easy reads. They know the few coverages they're going to get. They're not getting crazy blitzes. They're not having to change the play at the line of scrimmage because they don't have the full menu of an offense or a weak game plan like they will during the season. And so I think having a veteran like Kenny Pickett as the backup while you're in the hunt is an important thing for this team because they have to go into the season not knowing what they can become. Because like I mentioned before, there's a lot of good vibes in the Berea meeting rooms amongst the players because they feel like they have a team that's going to be a lot better than people think. And there still is an aspect of football where it's a team game. And when you get guys to buy into their role and they're doing their job, that you can have a whole that's bigger than the sum of the parts. And I think that's what they're going to have this season. And so to have a guy like Kenny Pickett there in an emergency is really important because we do not want to put a quarterback who's a rookie out there in meaningful games towards the beginning of the season if we don't have to, because they're just not going to be prepared to run the full offense and to give the offense the best chance of success.
I'm glad that you mentioned all that stuff too about what the rookie quarterbacks are facing during the preseason games, because I've seen a lot of people online kind of coming out and bashing some of the Browns media guys that have been there at training camp, like Zach Jackson from The Athletic and Darryl Reuter and these guys who said, Dylan Gabriel's been struggling at camp, doesn't look all that great, but I keep telling people, like, he's been going against the Browns' first-team offense or first-team defense in practice. It's a lot different situation than these second-string, third-string guys for these opposing teams in training or in the preseason games.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're going against the starters, there's a reason they're starters,
right?
Because they've been in the NFL or they deserve to be in the NFL and they're rookies and they're top picks like a Mason Graham. And so the level of competition is just so much steeper when you are going against those starters. And so you have to have everything that you look at in the preseason. You have to see it through a perspective lens that gives you some ability to understand, like, this might not be what it would look like when the starters are out there. You have to be able to measure that a little bit and have some realistic expectations, because you can, on one hand, be really excited about the progress of your rookies and to be excited about, hey, they look good in this situation, because it's about developing that path of growth to having a chance to be a starter, even if they're not there right now. Whereas when you go out there and you're thrown to the wolves and you've got the first team defense playing all their stuff, like, you may not even have a chance to show off your decision-making and your arm strength because you're so confused at what you see. You don't even know who to go to. You don't even know what to do. And that lack of confidence can make you look really, really bad. And I think the Browns have done a good job in spite of some outside national criticism of protecting the rookies, putting them in as many situations as possible to help them grow and develop without destroying their confidence.
Yeah, real quick, we always say on here too about preseason specifically to the people who watch the show, it's okay to get excited about the good things you see, but don't overreact to it. It's much more important if you see bad things happening in preseason, that's a little more telling than seeing good things, like you just said.
Yeah, of course.
Well, while we're talking about the rookie quarterbacks, man, I guess we'll start with Dylan Gabriel. What did you see from Dylan, in this preseason? And then, did he show you, obviously he showed you some things, but what was it that he showed you? And, did it say enough about why the Browns would draft him in the third round, and maybe silence some of the critics that, have questioned that pick?
I thought you saw a lot of follow through from what they saw on tape in college and for the things that got them excited to make him their third round pick, because you saw a quick release. He was going through his progressions and his reads very quickly. He was comfortable in the pocket. He made good decisions on when to stay in the pocket, when to try to escape. And he was very accurate overall. He made some bad throws at times, it happens to every quarterback, not just rookies. But overall, the vast majority of his reps, he was throwing the ball on time, on the money to the right guy accurately, and he was making really good decisions. I'll say in the first start when we saw him against Philadelphia, he had two bad decisions. One was on a handoff, which a veteran quarterback doesn't make those mistakes, right? But when you're a rookie, you've got a lot of things on your plate, and you just take a wrong angle when you're turning around on an outside zone, and you don't get the ball to the running back, and the ball goes on the ground, and it's a turnover, which is a huge play in a game. You can't have that, but those are rookie mistakes that do show up. And then when he had two right receivers running the wrong route, he was booting to his left, and he threw that interception. He had two receivers that got bunched together. They gave up on their routes, and he still tried to force it in there rather than just throwing it away. And so just making those decisions and learning when to give up and throw the ball out of bounds and live to play another down, I think those are important growth parts. And we saw that growth then when we got to see Dylan Gabriel in his second start. I think the one thing that I noticed again is he's going to continue to have to learn how to overcome the height issue, because there was one time in the game where it looked like it was an overthrow, but the ball got tipped at the line of scrimmage. And so for him, just learning to understand, like, there's times when I can't throw the ball with a laser trajectory. I've got to loft it, and I've got to throw it a little bit earlier, because one, these linemen are a lot taller. They know that I'm a short quarterback and I'm going to get my hands up. They're going to try to push the pocket on him. They're going to try to collapse the pocket and cloudy his vision down the field. And so I think he's shown that he's a smart enough quarterback that he'll be able to adapt to that. And it gives you the green light to be like, you know what? He's not a finished product, but he's making progress at the speed that we wanted. And so we feel really good about where he is right now.
Yeah, I think that 2-minute drive on Saturday against the Rams, I know it was a bunch of Rams players that probably aren't on the roster anymore and all that kind of stuff, but you saw the execution of the offense. I think the way Kevin Stefanski wants it done. He just came out, he hit his marks, and the competent quarterback play out of him on Saturday, especially in that 2-minute drive, I thought was very encouraging.
I loved seeing it. And my favorite part about that 2-minute drive is right before it, he had a couple poor throws.
Yeah.
And you could see that sometimes rookies, they've had so much success in college and they've been the hero everywhere they've gone. And for Dylan Gabriel, he played, 6 years in college. So he had a ton of success. He was a hero at multiple programs. And if you have a bad play or a couple in a row in the NFL, it's easy to go in the tank, because a lot of times you've never experienced what that's like on a game day of having poor performance. And so for him to be able to bounce back, show that resiliency and that poise, and go out in a 2-minute situation, which is the hardest situation you find yourself in as a quarterback in the NFL, and go right down the field, be decisive in his decision-making, and continue to have confidence in his ability. That was the biggest thing I was pumped about with him. And I think that was, to me, the biggest takeaway that I'll have with reflecting on his preseason was his resiliency, his poise, and being able to continue to be the same guy and be able to forget a bad play that happened before.
I could be wrong too, but I believe in the Philly game, he had the turnover and then he turned around and came right back down the field. I can't remember if it was just a field goal or if it was a touchdown, but I believe
it was a field goal, wasn't it?
Okay. I wanted to say that he had, a bad turnover and came, same kind of thing. I had the message coming out of the game, like, no big deal, resilient, come right back out.
Life is unpredictable, but how you prepare for the unexpected shouldn't be. Take ownership of your life planning with Policy Genius to help your loved ones have a financial safety net in case something happens to you. whether to cover debts and routine expenses or even invest the money and earn interest over time. With Policy Genius, finding and buying life insurance is simple. You can compare quotes from top insurers and could find coverage that fits your needs and your budget. Plus, they offer life insurance policies starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. It's an easy way to feel good about and plan for the future. No wonder Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. Don't wait for life to make other plans. Protect your family today. Head to policygenius.com to compare top-rated life insurance policies, get your lowest quote, and make a smart move in under 10 minutes. That's policygenius.com.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Labor Day sale and get 35% off paints and stains August 22nd through September 4th. With prices starting at $31.84, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Lowe's has the Labor Day deals you need to give your home a new look. Buy one, get one free select interior paint via Visa gift card rebate. Then, add the final touch with 2 for $8 on select 2.5 or 3-quart mums. Refresh your home and save big while doing it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 9/3. Mums offer in-store only. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowes.com/rebates for details.
This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Browns fans, it is time to upgrade your ring game. Head over to manlybands.com/dogs and check out everything Manly Bands has to offer. Some of the coolest bands materials that you're going to find. I love going through and looking at everything in their Jack Daniel's whiskey barrel collection. I mean, you can get a wedding ring made from a Jack Daniel's whiskey barrel. That's awesome. They've got the Lord of the Rings collection. They've got DC Comics, and they've also got the other materials too. Gold, white gold, that kind of stuff. They've got meteorite. They've got dinosaur bone. They've got all kinds of stuff. And they have a ton of other gifts as well. They've got barware. They've got chains. They've got wristwatch. They've got all kinds of stuff. Anything you need if you're looking for manly rings and manly things, head to manlybands.com/dogs and make sure to use promo code CAMP25, CAMP25, to get an extra $25 off your order. That's manlybands.com/dogs, promo code CAMP25. This episode is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University. Browns fans, do you ever feel stuck in your current job? Like if you just had a different degree or some more education in a certain area, you could do something you really want to do. Well, Southern New Hampshire University has the answers for you. Head over to snhu.edu/bark to learn how you can get started on your new career today. SNHU is one of the largest online accredited universities in the United States, and it's radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Head over to snhu.edu/bark to learn how you can get started on your degree for your new career, 100% online and 100% on your time. snhu.edu/bark. Now, if we want to switch over to Shedeur, I mean, on the negative side, I feel like letting bad plays compound and get the best of you. I think that's kind of what happened to Shedeur in that second half. And maybe we'll start there, but then I do want to get your takeaways from Shedeur Sanders after the Carolina game. But let's talk about this Rams game real quick.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, the things that made Shedeur drop in the draft were he takes too many sacks, he drifts in the pocket, he's not comfortable stepping up into the pocket and making quick decisions and reading the defense. The first time we saw him against Carolina, he was money. He was lights out, and it was awesome watching that decision-making process of, hey, when should I scramble? And once he does scramble, he's not fast, but he does have good short area quickness where he make little moves and make guys miss and then get his eyes back down the field to find his receivers. And so we saw that in his first time when he was out there against Carolina, and we were really excited about it. But then we did see sort of the college Shedeur a little bit in the game against the Rams, where right off the bat, he's dropping too deep. And instead of stepping up as he's going through his progressions, he tries to drift and then escape the pocket from the backside, which is never good, especially because now all of a sudden in the NFL, these dudes have been watching you on tape. They get the scouting report. They know who you are. And if you can't make those adjustments on the fly and you just keep going back to the same well over and over again, you're going to just keep getting the same result. And that's what we saw. Like, as soon as he lost confidence in his protection because he was getting hit, now all of a sudden he just continues to drop deeper and deeper and deeper, which is just compounding the problem, because now those defensive ends, instead of rushing the spot 7.5, 8 yards deep where most quarterbacks set up in the pocket, now they're just running as fast and as far around the tackles as they possibly can, because they know, hey, if I run to a spot 11 yards deep, that's where he's going to be. And as a tackle, I hated that, because I knew there was almost nothing I could do, because I have to really overset and bail to be able to block for a spot that's beyond 10 yards deep. And when I do that, now I'm exposing myself to the bull rush. I'm exposing myself to the quick inside move, which you can't do any of those things. So you're going to continue to block for your spot. And it just one of those things where it snowballed. It didn't get any better. He went to the sideline. He got frustrated, and he wasn't able to self-correct in the moment, and he let the frustration get the best of him, which I think that was the most disappointing part of that entire preseason game.
Yeah, I saw that at one point in the Carolina game as well. He got sacked, and I think it was Sal Cannella. I don't know if he didn't run the right route or something, but it was third down play, gets sacked, and he took his helmet off on the field, and he's yelling at the receiver for not doing something right or whatever. And Tommy Reese on the broadcast is behind him saying, "You can't take your helmet off." Like, and
Yeah.
it's just, you got to be able to control those emotions and be that leader on the field. And, I think Saturday, I know there's people out there that will support Shedeur no matter what, and he can do no wrong. But if you want to be, honestly critical about it, we saw on the field why Dylan Gabriel has been ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And that's what we've been asking the entire preseason, is reports out of camp kind of have it the other way. Show us on the field why, Gabriel is so far ahead, if he is, of Shedeur. And I think we definitely saw it, like, clearly.
Yeah, no doubt. There's more to being a quarterback than in 7-on-7, standing in the pocket and delivering the ball beautifully, accurately, which Shedeur always does, to the right guy. And then all of a sudden, when you have to deal with a pass rush, you have to deal with complex checks at the line of scrimmage. And so you're thinking about a million different things. Like, to be able to operate and do things consistently well enough to give everybody else, the other 10 guys on offense, an opportunity, like, that's how coaches are grading the guys. And so I think when you look at a training camp review, it's more about what is his potential. Can he throw accurately? Can he make those decisions? And then in that case, like, Shedeur probably has a higher ceiling. I think that's what was something everybody would agree on. But who's the most ready right now to step into an NFL game and help this team the best? And I think that's pretty clearly Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I agree. I think those bad habits from college just, they were there a little bit maybe against Carolina, but Shedeur overcame and, like you said, played lights out. But you really saw those habits were still there very strongly against the Rams.
Yeah, and Shedeur's a great playmaker, and I think that's the thing you get the most excited about, right? He's a guy that plays his best in big moments, and he can find the tight window when things are breaking down. And so you want to be able to allow him to get to those moments. But if you just continue to have bad habits and you're drifting in the pocket and you're losing confidence in your protection and your receivers, like, those things compound, and then you're never able to show your skills as a playmaker and show who you can be when you get out there. So it's just going to take some time for him to break some of those bad habits and get more comfortable doing the things that the Browns are asking him within this offense.
All right, Joe, I'm going to take us away from the rookie quarterbacks, man. I'm going to take you to some offensive line stuff. Ethan Posick went down in the game on Saturday, and he was able to walk off, with trainers. But we haven't really heard an update, whether this will become something for week one. But what's your thoughts on Luke Whippler stepping in, potentially week one if he has to?
Yeah, I think he's done a nice job. I think they would feel very comfortable with him. He's been around for a couple of years now, and he's shown that he's got those abilities. And the mental side of the game is coming pretty easy for him, and especially in his second year, having that opportunity to really have those reps in practice and build that Rolodex in your brain of all the things that can happen and all the calls I have to make sure everybody's on the same page. He's a good run blocker. He's a good technician. And I think the Browns feel comfortable for him if he has to step in there in week one and be the starter.
Yeah, I thought he looked pretty good in preseason as well. Now talking maybe a little more negative, a guy that didn't look as good in preseason. What's going on, if you can comment on Dustin Hopkins in this kicking situation? Because it just felt like his struggles from last season where, I think last year, 66.7 field goal percent, lowest in the NFL. He missed 9 field goal attempts last year, 3 PATs missed. And I believe he missed at least one kick, whether it was a field goal or a PAT in every preseason game. Andre Smith came in, made his kicks and everything, made the game winner on Saturday against the Rams. So what's going on with Dustin Hopkins in that situation?
I mean, kicker is such a mental game. The best comparison is a golfer, right? Who, coming off the tee or his irons or whatever, is just not feeling right. And then you're trying to think about it and you're just not hitting it naturally. And unfortunately, you're exactly right. The concerns and the problems from last year are trickling over into this year. And until he's able to sort of correct it in his mind, there's going to be a lot of concern. We had Andrew Berry in the booth in the third quarter, and I think Dustin missed one when he was up there. And the obvious question is, are you worried about your kicker? Well, of course they are, but they can't say it, right? Because kicker's a mental thing, right? As a kicker, you have to have confidence in yourself, and you want to feel like everybody's confident in you that's around you, that's making those decisions, because if they're not, it's only going to get worse. And so everyone's going to try to continue to preach the message of confidence. We're not worried about it. He'll figure it out. But there has to be obviously a lot of concern, and certainly through back channels, they're going to be trying to figure out, okay, if this continues in the regular season, what's plan B?
Yeah, man, we'll see how that goes. As far as like on the defensive side of the ball, then who stood out to you during this preseason that maybe you weren't expecting to stand out, or maybe you were hoping to see something from and you did? Like who on the defensive side of the ball do you want to shout out here?
Yeah, Carson Schlesinger. I mean, he was the guy that in the second round, when the Browns drafted him, everybody internally was very excited because he is exactly the type of linebacker that Jim Schwartz wants. He can rush the passer. He can run sideline to sideline because he's got that speed, so he can, make tackles in the outside zone. He can kind of shore up the edges in the run game. He's physical enough in pass coverage against tight ends to be able to match up with those guys and create a little bit of a problem on the inside. And he's super smart. Like, he's been able to wear the green dot and control the defense. So I think he's been really as advertised, maybe even a little bit better. And with the injuries to JOK and the retirement of Jordan Hicks, like, the linebacker situation was a little bit dire if Carson Schlesinger didn't show that ability right away from day one to be able to come in and be that starter right off the bat and play great football. And the other guy I'll say, who I didn't even know who he was because he was an undrafted guy, is Aiden Huntington, who's played absolutely lights out. I mean, on the broadcast, I didn't want to disrespect Aaron Donald for being like, oh, he's the next Aaron Donald, because he's not. However, he reminds me in a whisper of Aaron Donald because he is a little bit undersized, but he plays so hard and he's so quick and physical, and he just has that nose for the football, and he will not quit. And he shows a level of technique and understanding of how to beat blocks that you rarely see from rookies. And he's a guy that's earned himself playing time. And in the press conference after the game, you heard Kevin Stefanski say right away, I got permission to say this, Aiden Huntington made the team.
Yeah,
and to just hear that for a guy that has showed up, first of all, on kickoff, which is not easy for a big guy to run down there, even though they're not running as far as they used to, like, to get down there and blow people up consistently the way he did, like, he's going to be a problem. Like, I can tell you those dudes on kickoff return are not going to want to see big Aiden Huntington running down the field, smoking them and then going and blowing up their ball carrier, because he is just a human missile out there. And then he showed it, especially in that last game, playing defensive tackle. So I know that in Jim Schwartz's system, where he asks those guys to get up the field, to penetrate, to disrupt, he's a perfect match.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw him out there playing fullback with the first team offense, it's like, I think this guy's on the team. Yeah. I think he's got a role. He's going to be everywhere.
Just to continue that, I guess, for offense, was there a guy that stood out that, kind of blew you away?
Blow me away. I don't know if anybody blew me away. I thought Jerome Ford had a really nice preseason. I think with the question marks about Quinshon Judkins and when he's going to be back, which it's turned into a little bit of a contract dispute. They're not positive he's going to be signed for week one. Like, we're going to have to lean on Jerome Ford to be the workhorse back. And I thought he showed some nice speed. He showed some pretty decisive cuts. I think he's a guy that can really fit with what Stefanski wants to run, with a lot of the pin pulls and the inside and outside zones. So I thought he had a pretty nice preseason. Joe Flacco showed that he knocked off the rust, and he's still the same guy that we fell in love with a couple years ago here. Harold Fannin Jr. was probably the guy that impressed me the most, because I didn't really know a whole lot about him coming out of Bowling Green, I know internally they were really excited about him, but he has just shown incredible ball skills. He catches everything. He's shown to be a pretty good blocker, which is not easy for a tight end as a rookie because you're blocking guys that are 50 pounds heavier than you. And a lot of times you're using techniques that maybe you didn't use in college. So he's been a really, really fast learner, and he's going to be a really good weapon in the passing game for us.
Speaking of the passing game, what were your takeaways of, guys like Jamari Thrash and Gage Larvadan in the preseason? Because, wide receiver is just that position that we've been talking about this whole preseason and training camp. Like, it's kind of thin. We don't have a whole lot of proven depth there. You got Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman. Hopefully he can stay healthy for a nice long stretch of this season, which has kind of been his bugaboo. But what about guys like Thrash and Larvadan?
Yeah, they also had really good camps. Gage Larvadan specifically was a guy that continued to shine every time I was at practice, every time I was able to watch practice or read reports. He was making plays, and it's a tricky spot because you think he's going to make the team, but usually you only keep 5 receivers, and one of them is going to be a punt returner, and so you're wondering, okay, how does Gage fit? Because you'd really like to see him continue in this system, continue to develop. And I do think he earned himself a spot, and I'm hoping to continue to see that development, because finding that shifty slot receiver, that guy that can play, right next to the tight end and that can create some matchup problems from the inside out, and who's sort of that reliable short to intermediate route receiver in the middle of the field. I think the Browns are pretty excited about watching his continued development.
Yeah, I think that's one thing people need to be watching for. If they do keep all 4 quarterbacks heading into the season, that's an extra roster spot somewhere else that's going to have to be sacrificed. And unfortunately, it could be a guy like Larvadan, who I think I'd love to see him on the roster. Yeah. I think he does have that potential to develop into a Sunday player. Mm-hmm. Maybe not like a high flying guy, but definitely somebody you can stick in there in moments and rely upon and fill in for injuries and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yep. You kind of got into it a little bit with Quinshon Judkins. I guess, do you have any insight on, what we're doing in that situation? Do you think they get him signed before week 1? The longer it goes, we're all kind of wondering as fans, like, what really is going on? What's the holdup? I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so just asking around in the building, trying to figure things out without being too nosy. It's a contract dispute. I think that they've got most of the important things figured out, which the way the CBA is written and the way rookie contracts are now, there's not a whole lot of negotiating that happens. So most guys do get signed pretty quickly. I think the addition of the incident and potential legal issues that he had to deal with leading up to this point, and still, could deal with some punishment, will probably deal with some punishment from the league. I don't really see that he has a whole lot of leverage to ask for more than he should at his position in the draft. So I get the sense that maybe the agent is just trying to argue for a few last minute things to try to boost himself, so that when he's recruiting the next Quinshon Judkins, he can say, oh, look what I got, Quinshon. I fleeced the Browns and I was able to get so much more than he deserved. But a lot of times when these things happen, it's like the agent's one last shot, but he realizes he needs to get his guy into camp into the season before the first regular season game, because really the money you're going to make now for Quinshon is going to be if you do a great job for 4 years and then you get that second deal. And so I think that he realizes he's going to be a workhorse back for us no matter when he signs, but you don't want to miss paychecks because they're so valuable, and you don't want to miss playtime because they're even more valuable for an opportunity from an agent's perspective to go get that second contract. So I would assume, they got 2 weeks before the first regular season game. I wouldn't be surprised if something gets done within a week.
I really appreciate your perspective there on the agent side of things, because I think a lot of times as fans, we sit at home and you hear people say, oh, why doesn't he just, sign for this? Or as if Judkins himself is the one holding things up. But I think it's important to remember how much influence the agent has in these situations. So I'm glad you brought that up. That was really insightful.
Yeah, for an agent, for a player, you hire an agent and then you entrust him to help you navigate the waters that you've never been in before of negotiating a contract. And so you have to have trust that they're giving you the honest feedback and they're doing what's in the best interest of you, maximizing your value with the team. And there was times in my own negotiations when I was a rookie, before I signed, I I think I missed the first 3 days, which happened to be like the rookie only portion, which I didn't want to go to anyway, because it's just like you and like 5 rookies just getting slaughtered by the coaches because they got nobody else to coach, and there's no team reps, you don't have enough guys. But so I got in when everyone else did. But even in that situation, I felt uncomfortable because I'm like, I need to be out there with my guys. I never made any money. This was before NIL, so like that really wasn't something that I even thought about. But just leaning on his perspective and his experience to make the decision that's right for you. And you have to have a guy that does that, because in these situations when you don't know any better, he's hopefully giving you the best advice, because the team has their interest in mind, which you understand. I mean, but the agent needs to have your interest in mind, and then you need to be able to find a compromise. When I was renegotiating for my second contract in Cleveland after 5 years or whatever, I mean, I probably would have been happy to take half what they gave me, because I'm like, geez, this is an unbelievable amount. I'm like, take it, Peter, like whatever you want. And he's like, wait a minute, you're way underselling your value. And he's like, we have a very, very solid footing to stand on, and you're bringing way more value than your contract is. And so you have to have that trust, because for a lot of players, like, we'd play this game for nothing if it came to that, because we love the game. We love an opportunity to play professional football for a living. But there is that contract side, and you have to have that trust, and you have to be able to figure that out with somebody who's looking out for you. And that's why it's really important to hire an agent that you trust, that you know is looking out for your best interest. And I think the best interest for Quinshon is going to be there Monday before the Cincinnati Bengals game, so he can have a full week of practice and go out and show us that he can be a great running back for us.
That might have been one of the best segments we've ever had on the show. That was very informative.
I'm sure your wife and kids are proud of that agent's work that he put on that second. Yeah. Thank goodness for him.
Play for nothing.
Yeah.
You said what? This episode is brought to you by Baden Sports. Browns fans, it's summertime. Time to get outside and take advantage of the beautiful weather and play some backyard games. Head over to badensports.com, BADEN sports.com/dogs, and check out all their summertime gear. And for 10% off your entire order, just use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. Now, if you guys love pickleball, Baden Sports has all the gear you need, including a variety of paddles, balls, and complete pickleball sets with a pack and go carry case so you can play in the backyard or take it on vacation to play with the entire family. Baden Sports also has volleyball and badminton sets, croquet, horseshoes, bocce, and even Vikings chess. And no summer break is complete without some good old-fashioned wiffle ball. Plus, Baden has all kinds of different basketballs with special outer layers that are designed specifically for whatever surface you'll be playing on. So don't waste 1 second this summer. Head to badensports.com/dogs to get the backyard outdoor gaming gear that your family needs, and get 10% off your entire order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. That's badensports.com/dogs. So you just, speaking of the Cincinnati Bengals game week 1, after watching the preseason, the way this team looked more disciplined, more buttoned up, the offense looked more competent, everything was encouraging to see. I've got a lot more optimism, and I'm sure you do too, Justin.
Yeah, for sure.
It feels like there's an opportunity here, week 1 at home against the Bengals, to get a win, to start this thing off 1-0, just like we did in 2023 against the Bengals at home. And, their defense is hurting. Their offensive line is hurting. We're strong, they're weak, and I feel like we can capitalize on that. What do you kind of preview for week 1, I guess?
Yeah, giving a much too early preview of the Bengals versus Browns game. I'm going to go do it because we're all thinking about it right now that the preseason is over. But I do think it's a good matchup for us. I think, like you mentioned, their defense is hurting, so that'll be important for us to be able to kind of get our footing in a regular season game, which is different. Even though the starters did play in the final preseason game, it's going to be way different. Obviously, going against a starting crew with a full game plan, but being able to get our feet wet against a defense that is not one of the top defenses in the NFL, I think will really help us. I think our defensive line is going to be a huge problem for the Bengals offensive line. That's going to really help us minimize Joe Burrow's impact, but he's still going to have a big impact. He's one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think really when you look at, okay, our O-line's better than their D-line, our D-line's better than their O-line. I feel good about our running backs, especially if Quinchon's in there. Receivers, I think it's probably an even matchup against their secondary. Really the mismatch you look at is potentially if Denzel is not healthy after that shoulder, or if something kind of happens between Denzel and Greg, like we're kind of light in the secondary after Denzel and Greg. Two of the best corners in the NFL, but then our third corner, our fourth corner, our nickel, like those guys are inexperienced. And with the injury from earlier in camp to MJ Emerson, we are very thin in the back end, and we're going to rely heavily on our pass rush getting there before that third receiver can get open.
Great insight. I loved it. Love that. I've got to ask, Joe. Every offseason, I feel like you're kind of just all over the place, man. You're like international man of mystery. Are you coaching this year, man? Are you going back over and doing you were in Europe, right? Were you in Germany?
Yeah, so I was in Munich, Germany.
Okay, yeah.
Summer, I can't remember. It was 2023, I think. I can't remember exactly, maybe 24. But was over there in Munich. It was a great experience, but it was just a one and done situation. Wanted to go over there, have my kids get the opportunity to live and go to school abroad and travel with the family. And I got a chance to coach, which was such a dream for me, and be the run game coordinator and coach professionals. It was awesome, but that was always planned to be a 1-year deal. So I just felt really blessed that the Browns allowed me to come and be around the O-line a little bit this training camp and coach and kind of get an opportunity to wet my whistle a little bit because I do have that passion for teaching and coaching. But I won't be going back to coach in the ELF until my kids are out of school. I'm coaching my son's flag football team. I'm the offensive coordinator. A lot of responsibility there for that 9U flag football team that he plays on. And I'll be doing media work with the Browns and then with the NFL. So I'm going to the Browns game in London. I'm going to be doing the in-stadium hosting on the sideline, which is going to be fun. I've done that a few times in Germany last year and then at the Super Bowl. And then I'll go do the game in Berlin again for the NFL on the sideline. So I do still get an opportunity to do some of that broadcast work, some of the in-stadium work, which I love, but not too much because I still got the farm, I still got the kids, the cattle, and then I'm coaching back home football. And then once basketball season comes, I think I'm going to coach my daughter in basketball this year. So still plenty of fun stuff I like to do on the home front that I didn't get to do when I was in Germany.
Good. All right.
We thought we were busy.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, though, before we get you out of here, talk to us about that Hall of Fame beef. Like, what's going on? Give everybody an update, and then let everybody know how they can go and find your top quality beef products and everything about it.
Yeah, so 2018, when I retired, my kids said they wanted pet cows on the farm because we didn't have any real livestock. We had chickens, we had goats, but we were just eating the eggs and petting the goats and feeding them our leftovers. So they're not in the meat program. But so we bought some cattle, and then since then we've kind of continued to grow and develop as people have given us great feedback for how we're doing it. We're raising on incredible pastures on my farm on the banks of the Blue River. And my passion now in retirement has become food, which it always was a passion, but now I've got an opportunity to actually raise my own food. And so trying to create the best beef on planet Earth, the best steak is really like my life's mission at this point. And so we've done a ton of work with genetics, raising 100% full blood Japanese Wagyu, where you can actually go through their lineage and trace them back to Japan when they came over on the 747 from somewhere in Kobe, Japan, in the early 90s. And so was able to buy basically the whole herd of cows from the top producer, the top geneticist in Vermont, Wagyu, the top geneticist in all of Wagyu beef in the country. Also raised certified Angus on the farm. And so now it's been a lot of fun, like being able to provide and be a servant of this amazing product, this amazing beef that I'm raising on my farm to all these people throughout the country, throughout Browns Nation. So you can go to my website, halloffamebeef.com, and order direct to consumer right there. We'll ship it right to your house on dry ice, 2-day shipping. We've got beef sticks, we got beef jerky, we've got steaks, we've got all the things that people love. And we got 3 levels. We got the 100% full blood Wagyu, which is like that A5 stuff that you get in like the fancy steakhouses that you don't even have to cook it. It just melts right in your mouth. And then we got the American Wagyu, which is a blend of Angus and the Japanese Wagyu. And then we raised the Angus for somebody that just wants like a really delicious, beefy, marbled, delicious steak bite that they're used to. And like I mentioned, it's my passion right now. It's my passion project. We're not making any money on it because I'm just like, let's pour everything we got into the farm and the facilities and the genetics. And once we raise the best beef on planet Earth, I then know that maybe my kids can take it over someday and then maybe make that a living. But now just living on this Dogs Cleveland Browns podcast income right here that I'm making today.
Hopefully we could send a couple people your way.
Yeah.
And get you some orders. I mean,
I appreciate it, guys.
I love hearing the story about it, and like your passion for it is just obvious. I mean, you light up when you talk about it. It's pretty cool. Pretty happy for
I
you,
appreciate that, man. It was cool. Last week, I got a chance to deliver 300 pounds of beef to Rocco Whalen at Fahrenheit Restaurant in Cleveland.
Wow, yeah.
Because he ordered a bunch, and I threw them in the cooler in the back of the truck and delivered them Friday morning. And then, ran to practice, and ran over here, and then came back Friday night and got a chance to cook with him. And it's funny. It's like, your own child. Every time somebody takes a bite, I'm like, how was it? Tell me. I need to know. Like, you're so nervous. And you just, you put so much energy and effort and financial things into it that you're like, man, I just really want this to be so good. I want it to blow people away. And so far we've been lucky. I think everybody's been beyond amazed and impressed, hearing multiple people. I sent some to Michael Simon, and he called me right away after he cooked. He's like, hey, I'm not lying, man. I'm not saying it just because it's you and I'm Brown saying that was the best steak I've ever had in my life. I'm like, hey, brother, say that right here into this microphone I'm wearing. We need to tell more people that you told me that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Joe, thank you so much for jumping on here, giving us some, your reactions and everything from the preseason, a little bit of preview for the regular season coming up. We're very excited as Browns fans. I think it's going to be a much better, like you said, a much better season than what we originally anticipated. So we appreciate you coming on.
Yep. Huge honor, Joe.
No, man. Thanks for having me on, guys. And I'm with you. Last season was so sad and disappointing and just miserable because we had high expectations. This year, expectations are way lower, but it's going to be a fun team. There's so many fun players and guys that you can cheer for and you can root for. And I think they're going to play as a team. It's going to be fun football to watch. Are they going to win every game? No, but I think they're going to be way better than people thought. And they're going to be a fun team again to cheer for.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Joe. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Yep. Talk to you soon.
All right. Well, thanks again to Joe Thomas for coming back on the show. That was such a fun conversation.
The GOAT.
The GOAT, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Seriously, guys, he's such a good guy. Like he's a fun guy. He loves life. He's a down to earth dude. He loves his beef. Like, go check out the Hall of Fame beef too.
Joe Thomas too. In your head, you're like, it's one of the best ever.
His whole conversation about the contract stuff was interesting. Where talking about, because he was probably 25-ish or something when he got that second contract, 26 maybe. You're still a young guy in your 20s, and you're thinking, oh man, look at this multi-million-dollar contract, and your agent's like, dude, that's not even close to what you should be asking for. It's like, really? Okay. I can just see his young eyes get real big. Like, holy crap.
Half? Yeah. This is only half of the money? Oh, okay.
I would play for free. Yeah. Your wife's like, what?
Yeah.
Don't you say that.
No.
No, that was good stuff. We really appreciate that. Appreciate you guys tuning in, checking out the show. Drop us a comment. Give us some feedback. What do you guys think about Joe Thomas? If we have him back on again, we can collect some questions from you guys. If you want to leave them in the comments now, we'll put them in our Google Doc and get ready for the next time, because, again, Joe Thomas, good friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Oh, yeah. So before we get out of here, remember, go to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page, sync up with the Discord, get ready for week 1 when we are going to beat the Bengals. We're going to start off 1-0, putting it out there now. We're going to speak it into existence. We are going to dominate Joe Burrow with our defensive line, and Joe Flacco is more than good enough to shred that weak-ass secondary for the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's go, Browns. We can do this.
You heard it here first.
That's right. Yeah, you heard it here first. So appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk to you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by ButcherBox for Pets. Browns fans, we love our fellow dogs, our Dog Pack members, and the Dog Pound faithful, but let's not kid ourselves. The most important dogs in our lives are, well, our dogs. Your furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. But the question is, what are you actually feeding them? Head to butcherbox4pets.com/products to see all the options for your dogs, including fresh and dry foods, treats, meal toppers, and even toys for your dog. If you're not sure what your dog will like best, try the Premium Nutrition Adult Starter Pack. And they even have a vacation bundle to take care of your four-legged friends while you're on vacation this summer. And right now you can get 20% off your order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain zero artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line is your dogs are getting the nutrition and the value they need, and honestly, that they deserve. I know our home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden retriever who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog. He is not, but it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of just that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to go. ButcherBox for Pets delivers their high-quality food right to your door. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/products and use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 20% off your order. It's time for us dogs to give our dogs the nutrition they deserve.